Let's get right down to it. You can really find valuable pennies right in your pocket change. I've shown you in hundreds of videos for every single penny that's come out since 1909 that there are super valuable ones in every year. Let's get to this video talking about some great years of pennies worth even greater prices than their 1 cent face value.
Let's break down the 2010 Shield Cent. Let's start by taking a look at this Philadelphia Perfection. This is a 2010 Philadelphia Shield Cent graded MS66 Plus Red by PCGS. It sold in January of 2025 for $231.75. So we're going to start strong here with a very strong business strike with a great value. For a common Philly strike, $230 is an impressive price. Now that plus sign on that MS66 holder is doing the heavy lifting here. It's going to signal to collectors that this coin has better eye appeal than 99% of other 2010 cents in circulation. But what about that first day hype? What about getting the labels with the FDI on it? Take a look at this 2010 Philadelphia Shield Lincoln Cent first day of issue graded MS66 Red by NGC. It sold not long ago in the beginning of 2025 for a whopping $8.11. Now here's a factual reality check. This coin is technically the same grade as the one that you just saw, well, minus the plus of course, but it sold for only $8. The seller definitely lost money here. We all know that. Grading alone would have ran $60, $70. Maybe if they got it done a while back, a little less than that. Between the grading fee and the first day of issue premium, they likely spent an additional $30 on that. They obviously lost a ton of money, that $8 return. This is one of those perfect examples of why I tell you to ignore the fancy labels on most modern coins. Many people got these graded thinking that they're going to have a huge value only to dump them later, in this case in February of 2025, for basically losing sums. If the grade isn't MS67 or higher, the label won't save the value and you don't see these FDI labeled coins really sell for much. We can't leave Philly though without talking about the satin finish cents. This is a 2010 Philadelphia Satin Finish Shield Cent, graded SP68 Red from PCGS. It sold for $47.25 in January of 2025. Now in 2010, the mint still offered satin finish coins in the uncirculated mint sets. These coins have a matte, sandblasted-like appearance. While they are beautiful, an SP68 is relatively common for this year actually. If you want real value in the satin series, you have to aim for SP69 or believe it SP70. That's where you're going to hit the big sums of money. Let's hop over to the Mile High Mint though to talk about a monster strike. This is a 2010 D Denver Shield Business Strike rated MS67 Plus Red by PCGS. This sold for the amazing amount of $4,624.88 in the middle of 2024. There was another instance of a similar coin of this type that sold for over $2,000 just a few months back. So hold on to your hats here. This is the white whale of the 2010 series. The major collecting note here, you want to know why a 2010 penny would sell for more than some gold coins do. This is because Denver business strikes in 2010 were plagued by terrible plating bubbles and bag marks from transfer. Finding one in a really high grade, really great condition that's this clean with a blazing red and free of zinc rot color is nearly impossible. This is the highest grade ever achieved for the 2010 D, and collectors fought tooth and nail for it. Now for us regular folks, If you find a really clean 2010D business strike, don't just toss it back in the jar. If you picked up one of those uncirculated rolls from the internet, you busted it open and found a truly flawless example, you could be sitting on an easily $1,000 coin. But just like Philly, we can't leave Denver without talking about the satin finish. This is a 2010D Denver Satin Finish Lincoln Cent, rated SP69 Red from PCGS. This one sold in May of 2025 for $807.66. Remember what I said about aiming for the higher grade? While the SP68 we looked at earlier was only around $50, this SP69 from Denver jumped to over $800. That single point of difference in that specimen grade creates a massive value gap. This coin is nearly perfect, which is very, very rare for a 2010 zinc planchet coin. Before we leave 2010 Shield Cents, we have to talk about the proof perfection out of San Francisco. This is a 2010 San Francisco proof rated PR65 Deep Cameo from Annex with beautiful toning. This one sold for $36.30. Finally, we have a proof out of San Francisco, but with a wonderful twist. If you've watched any of my videos, then you already know why I chose this coin. I love toning. In many cases, especially on modern proofs, it really adds not only some flair, some really good eye appeal, but some great value. Usually, modern proofs are graded like PR69 or PR70 to really get some value out of them. However, this coin sold for $36 because it's toned. Now, this may have been graded in a bulk submission, making it actually worth it, but I would think the seller might have even lost some money here. Now, on a buying side, this is really, really cool. Collectors are starting to pay premiums for modern zinc cents that have developed unique, colorful oxidation, even if the technical grade is lower. I personally love them, and I'm personally building a new but growing collection of tone coins. One thing to remember with 2010 Shield Cents is they've gotten rid of that copper experiment they ran in 2009. The mint used 95% copper for special collector sets in 2009, but in 2010, they stopped. Every coin that we discuss today, whether it's a business strike, a satin finish, or a proof, is made of copper-plated zinc and should weigh 2.5 grams. Because zinc is a much more volatile metal, it reacts poorly to heat and moisture, leading to those dreaded zinc rot or plating blisters you see on many pennies from your pocket change. This is exactly why high-grade 2010 Lincoln Cents are so incredibly valuable. Let's get into the 2011 Shield Cent. First up, we have a Philly monster. This is a 2011 Philadelphia Shield Cent graded MS68 Plus Red by PCGS. It sold in May of 2025 for $4,112.49. Just look at that price. This is a standard business strike meant for any cash register and any pocket change. But why did it sell for over $4,000? It's the plus designation at MS68 for sure. For a 2011 Philadelphia coin, this is the endgame sort of. There are billions of 2011 cents, but only a handful have survived in this state of preservation. Registry set collectors will view this as a trophy, and a coin with this type of condition is going to have bidders just fighting over it. Let's talk about that DDR variety though. A great error that you can look for in pocket change that, although isn't worth a ton of money, is still an awesome coin to find. This is a 2011 Philadelphia Shield Cent WDDR002 rated MS64 Red from Annex. It sold for the crazy amount of $18. This happened back in November of 2025, and I know this coin is not very valuable, but not every coin has to be valuable. It can be valuable in the sense of collectability, and I think that's the case here. You can find these in pocket change. You want to look for doubling on the lettering and the scroll. At $18 for an MS64, I think this is a really great, affordable way to start variety hunting. You can get a slabbed coin for really cheap, a loss actually for the seller, but a really good gain for your collection. Now on the hunting side, if you find one in better condition than this, something that's going to come back from grade as say like an MS66 or 7, you're jumping way up in price, potentially into the hundreds. Let's jump over to the Mile High Mint though, to talk about some Denver perfection. This is a 2011 D Denver Shield Cent rated MS68 Red from PCGS. This beautiful coin sold for $703.13 in February of 2025. Keep in mind that Denver usually had better strike quality than Philly, but MS68 is an incredible hurdle to pass. It's an absolutely phenomenal specimen of one of these Denver cents. At $700, this coin shows that Denver strikes are highly valued but slightly more available than the Philly versions when you get to the top of the grading scale. It's a really beautiful example of what a perfect modern cent should look like when it comes to 2011 D coins. We can't talk about Denver though without mentioning the proof-like coins. This is a 2011 D Denver Shield Cent graded MS68 Red PL by NGC. This one sold right at the end of 2025 for the really great price of $225. Notice the PL on the label. That stands for proof-like. This is a business strike that was hit by exceptionally fresh, polished dies. Those gave it mirror-like fields similar to a proof coin. I personally love these and toned coins. I just think they're really unique. These are rare for the Shield series. Even though it's an MS68, but still a really high grade, the PL designation is what makes it a unique specialty item for all those collectors who love those crazy flashy coins. Let's hop over to the San Francisco Mint though and talk about an early release. This is a 2011 S San Francisco Proof rated Proof 70 UC early release from NGC. This sold for $58.50 right at the very end of 2024. The UC on the label is for Ultra Cameo Proof. I think at under $60, this is the standard perfect 70 price for most modern proof Lincoln cents you'll see. The early release label means it was sent to grading service within the first 30 days of issue. It's a great piece for a collection, but don't expect it to appreciate like the business strikes in high conditions. Also, as you've seen with other early release label coins in this Lincoln Cent series, in a lot of cases, that specialty label really means nothing. 2011 is really a grading minefield. The Mint had been striking zinc Lincoln cents for nearly 30 years at that point, yet they still struggled with those plating processes. Zinc is really highly reactive, as you probably know. If a microscopic drop of moisture gets trapped under the copper plating during the striking process, it creates a gas bubble or plating blister. These bubbles are the enemy of high grades. They kill the condition of your coins. To get up into the hundreds of dollars you've seen in this video, the coin must be essentially perfect. No blisters, no spots, no scratches. This is why a common 2011 Lincoln cent can suddenly become a four-figure asset if it has all the right factors to it. The 2011 Shield cent might look common to most people, but the data really tells a different story with these. So my strategy for hunting them is really straightforward. Check for the doubling. I get that WDDR is not a crazy value, but what a wonderful coin to add to any collection, or to do a small flip on even in an ungraded form. So get your loop and look for the doubling on those coins. If you have original bank wrapped rolls and you're a fellow roll hunter like me, then look through those 2011 Lincoln cents and look for the really high condition ones. That's where the real money lives. If you're able to get a hold of any of the proof sets for these coins, some of them can have really good value, but as you saw with even that really clean one, they sell for about the normal price you see modern Lincoln cent proofs sell for. But they're always great to get graded, and you can see historically, these 2011 proofs are gaining value pretty steadily over the years. This is a great little deep dive into the 2012 Shield cent and their values. So let's jump into it. We'll start off with the NGC early release. This is a 2012 Philadelphia Shield cent early release graded MS68 red from NGC. It sold for $61 in the latter end of 2023. Now we begin with a high-grade Philly strike graded by NGC. This coin holds an MS68 grade, which is phenomenal for a modern zinc business strike, and it features the early releases label, which is also really cool. However, it only commanded $61. This is going to be around the cost to get it graded. So while this is beautiful, nearly flawless, the modern collectors often see early releases as a marketing gimmick in a lot of ways, I think. They see this rather than a marker of true rarity. It is a great entry point for a high-grade typeset though, but it's not that ceiling for this year. Let's talk about the PCGS Premium though. This is another 2012 Philadelphia Shield cent, graded MS68 red from PCGS. This one sold in April of 2024 for $174.28. Now look at that. This is the same exact coin from the same exact mint, with the same exact numerical grade, but it sold for nearly triple the price as that previous Philly coin. Now why the $113 difference? It really comes down to registry set competition, I think. The top PCGS registry set builders are always fiercely competitive, and they will pay up a premium to have their coins in PCGS plastic. Now let's hop over to the Mile High Mint to talk about the Denver baseline. This is a 2012 D Denver Shield cent graded MS66 red from PCGS. It sold in the beginning of 2025 for $17.79. I know you're probably laughing at that price, wondering why it's even on the list. Now, before I get into the information, do note that ones in higher grades, closer to 70, are going to garner closer to that $100+ value in a lot of cases. But I wanted to show this MS66 red because it's still an absolutely beautiful coin, it's uncirculated, yet it sold for a low amount and really shows the baseline for the values of the Denver Shield cents. I always want to give you guys the true prices, no matter what. It's not always flashy, it's not always valuable. Now an MS66 is really nice, but in the world of modern Lincoln cents, it is effectively a common coin, and that $18 value really shows that. The buyer essentially paid for probably only a third of the grading fee, and got the coin for essentially free or at a complete steal. If you are coin roll hunting, you have those uncirculated rolls, and MS66 is a great coin for an album still. But it's not worth the cost of grading, so just keep it in your album and wait for a later time down the road. You're going to have to aim higher to really get value out of the Denver Shield cents. Speaking of crazy value though, let's talk about the MS69 Miracle out of Denver. This is a 2012 D Denver Shield business strike graded MS69 red by PCGS. It sold in May of 2025 for $3,488.63. This is it. This is the monster, and really what you should be searching for condition-wise in your Denver Shield cents from 2012. Now, finding a modern business strike zinc penny in MS69 is like getting struck by lightning while winning the lottery at the same time. These coins are meant to be dumped into canvas bags, tossed into bins, and rolled by heavy machinery. To survive all of that without a single microscopic bag mark, plating blister, carbon spot, it is a statistical anomaly. This is from the famous Lincoln collection, so that provenance really helps as well. And at nearly $3,500, it represents the absolute zenith of what a 2012 Lincoln cent can really be. Let's round things out with the Annex birth set proofs, though. This is a 2012 S San Francisco Shield Proof, graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo from Annex. It sold in the beginning of 2026 for $27.76. Now, I know that value's a bit lackluster compared to that $3,000 one we just spoke about. But again, we have to talk about each coin, and we have to talk about the real, truthful prices here on this channel. This is still a gorgeous coin. Let's look at the proof strike, starting with this perfect grade of 70. This specific coin came from the US Mint's 2012 birth set. These are intended as a gift for newborns. They're really, really cool and something you can still pick up. Despite having a flawless PR70 grade, it sold for under $30. Annex is a highly respected grading service. I've actually met multiple reps of Annex over the years who are all super cool. They have a deep, deep history, but unfortunately for modern Perfect 70 proofs, their holders simply do not command the massive retail premiums we see with their competitors. And I think that's a bit sad. Now, we'll see what the future has to hold, and maybe Annex will really start to gain value comparative to the other bigger ones that they compete with. Jumping from that lower proof price, though, let's talk about another Proof 70 to show you that label difference. This is a 2012 S San Francisco Shield Proof, graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $205.63 in April of 2025. So here is the final proof. Another perfect 70, but graded by PCGS. These also sold within 6 months of each other. Once again, the plastic premium rears its head. This standard Proof 70 sold for over $200, vastly outperforming the Annex birth set example. When you are dealing with modern proofs, the margins are razor thin. If you want top dollar, the market data consistently points to PCGS or NGC over Annex, but we don't know what the future holds. So why such a plastic premium? I think we do need to talk about grading companies. Throughout this video, you've seen pairs of coins that have the exact same technical grade, but their prices are miles apart. When dealing with modern zinc pennies, perfection is incredibly rare. Zinc planchets are plagued by microscopic gas bubbles, weak strikes, and rapid oxidation. When a coin actually survives this gauntlet and earns an elite grade like MS67 or PR70, the market becomes highly selective about who assigns that grade. It's time for a bit of a reality check, so let's jump into 2013 Shield cents. First up, let's talk about the Philly Plus grade. This is a 2013 Philadelphia Shield cent rated MS67 Plus Red by PCGS. It sold for $90.99 in 2024. So we start in Philly with a top-tier business strike. At $90, this is a very respectable price for a modern penny. The plus designation is doing the heavy lifting here. It tells registry set collectors that this coin is at the absolute top end of the MS67 grade spectrum. It possesses incredible eye appeal and is a phenomenal specimen of a 2013 Philadelphia cent. This is a premium target for anybody doing coin roll hunting. So if you're able to pick up uncirculated rolls of 2013 Philly cents, then this is what you're looking for. This is the type of condition that gets you the most value. Let's talk about the baseline Philadelphia Shield cent though. This is a 2013 Philadelphia Shield cent rated MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for only $33.56 in the beginning of 2026. So look at that drop. Missing that plus cut the value by almost 2/3. At $33, you are basically breaking even at best on the grading fees. Probably losing money. If you are searching through original 2013 bankrolls, your goal is going to be the most flawless coins you can find. Anything less, and the math just doesn't work out when it comes to sending them off to grade. Let's head over to the Mile High Mint, though, to talk about a $3,000 Denver monster. This is a 2013 D Denver Shield Business Strike, graded MS68 Plus red by PCGS. It sold for $3,120 right at the end of 2023. This is the coin that breaks the scale. Why did a 2013 penny sell for over $3,000? It's because of population. At the time of this sale, this population was 1. Meaning PCGS had never graded a 2013 D Lincoln cent any higher. This was the only one at the MS68 Plus level. When two wealthy collectors need that single coin to make their registry set the #1 in the world, the price always explodes. We have to talk about a Denver paradox though. This is a 2013 D Denver Shield Business Strike as well, graded MS69 red by Annex. It sold for only $22.50 in October of 2024. Hear that carefully. $22.50. A grade of MS69, a theoretically better coin than the $3,100 monster we just looked at. And it sold for only $22. This is the reality check I was talking about earlier. The market simply does not view an Annex MS69 as equivalent to a PCGS MS68 Plus. Now there are other sales out there for Annex graded MS69s that do peak in a higher value, but whether you agree with that or not doesn't really matter. The factual auction data is going to prove it. If your goal is maximum profit, right now, the PCGS labels are where it's at. Let's head further west, though, for the imperfect San Francisco proof. This is a 2013 S San Francisco Shield Proof rated Proof 69 UC by NGC. It sold for a whopping $15 in December of 2024. We've moved over to the proof strikes, starting with a really high grade from NGC at Proof 69. With modern technology, the US Mint strikes proof coins really perfectly, so to speak. That PR70 is an expectation, really. A PR69 is technically a failure, and in these coins sells for next to nothing. Even with this early release label and a special Lincoln label, this coin is only worth $15. It's a beautiful placeholder, so to speak, but not an investment. Let's hike up the value a bit, though, with this PCGS Perfect 70. This is a 2013 S San Francisco Shield Proof rated Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $205.88 in August of 2023. I wanted to show you this coin to show you the standard for perfection. Once again, the PCGS registry premium really shows its strength. This perfect PR70 brings in over $200. If you are breaking up 2013 proof sets or you find one elsewhere, and you want to send it in for grading, you are hunting for absolute microscopic perfection on these, or don't you dare break apart that set. Before doing so, You'll want to look through at least a 10 times loop or under your USB scope to really take a good look at those proof coins and make sure that they're flawless. One tiny spot of haze on the mirror finish is going to knock their value down exponentially. I think with this year we see that not all grades are created equal. Because the data that you've seen in this video has probably made you a bit angry, I just wanted to touch on a few things. When we look at modern zinc Lincoln cents, condition is really everything. The market places a massive weight on who decides that condition. In the last few years, PCGS has established itself as the absolute master of the modern registry set. Collectors building the finest known sets will fight vicious bidding wars over those PCGS graded coins. Other grading services, even respected ones with long histories, simply are not commanding that premium for modern business strikes lately. The data we've looked at in this video provides the ultimate lesson in buying the holder. 2013 Shield cents are really one of those great things to collect, but not all of them are going to garner a huge value. Unless you're able to send yours off and get a really high grade, you're probably not even going to see the grading fee back in value. First, let's talk about the Lincoln Collection pedigree. This is a 2014 Philadelphia Shield cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold for $264.38 in May of 2025. We're starting with a massive result for a simple common date. This coin carries the Lincoln Collection pedigree. In the coin world, pedigree is going to be those coins that come from a famous or highly respected collection. Collectors will usually pay a massive premium to own a coin that was once part of a legendary set. At over $260, this is obviously a top of the market price for an MS68, so that Lincoln Collection pedigree clearly added to that value. But what about the standard MS68 benchmark, those high-grade regular Philly cents? This is a 2014 Philadelphia Shield cent graded MS68 red by PCGS also. It sold a year previous for $109. Here is the exact same grade without the famous collection name attached to it. This coin came from the Stephenville collection though, still a highly coveted collection of its own. While still a high-end grade, notice the price difference. At $109, this represents the standard market value for most 2014 Philly cents in really high grades. It's still a huge increase over the face value, of course, and a gorgeous coin, but it shows how much provenance in one set matters to high-end bidders. What about the mile-high mint, though? Let's talk about Denver. This is a 2014 D Denver Shield cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold at auction for $84 in 2023. Now this is a regular Denver business strike. The PCGS population on this coin is slightly higher than the Philly version, which explains that lower price. In the world of Shield cents, Denver usually had better strike quality, making higher grades slightly easier to find than the Philadelphia coins. At $84, it's really a solid win for any coin roll hunter, as they definitely turned an albeit small, but great profit on this coin. But it shows that Philadelphia is the harder condition hit for 2014. We can't talk about 2014 though, without talking about the perfect proofs. This is a 2014 S San Francisco Shield proof, graded Proof 70 red by NGC. It sold for $35.11 in October of 2025. We have here a perfect Proof 70 from San Francisco. Even with the early releases label and a perfect technical grade, this coin sold for under $40. As I've said before, the market for modern proofs is flooded. Unless it's in a PCGS holder and from a specific registry set, a perfect 2014 proof is an affordable, beautiful coin, but it just doesn't break the bank. In most cases, if you have one of these flawless looking 2014 proofs, it's not even worth sending it into grade, sadly. Put it in the album, protect it, and hold on to it for the future. It'll be worth it one day. Now let's talk about the star of the show, the Double Die error worth over $400. This is a 2014 Philadelphia Double Die Obverse FS101, graded MS66 red by PCGS. It sold for $456 in November of 2023. I have a separate video that covers all the different double die errors for this year, but I wanted to make sure to cover at least one of them to show you the real value in these errors. This is what you should be looking for in your pocket change, and of course, in any of those uncirculated rolls of 2014 cents you come across. The FS101 is a major variety listed in many books. Look for clear doubling on the date of 2014 and mainly on the word Liberty. This coin is only an MS66. Of course, that's still a pretty high grade, but it's not the perfect grade. This is a grade that would be worth face value if it were a normal Lincoln cent, but because of the error, it sold for over $450. There are only 9 or so of these known in this grade, with none higher. So this is one of those ultimate treasures that you can hunt for and hopefully be the 10th, the 11th, and so on. It really is one of those gems and one of the greatest errors for 2014 cents. This year really shows us the power of the population report. So why is population the secret to the value? For the 2014 Philadelphia cent, the mint made billions, of course, but if the PCGS population report shows that only 40 or so coins have ever achieved a certain grade, let's say MS68, then those 40 or so coins become condition rarities. When you see two different prices for the same grade, like the $100 gap that we've seen in this video between two MS68s, it usually comes down to pedigree, label, or simply timing. Sometimes luck in timing can make the big difference in value in some cases. 2014 is proof that you do not need a 100-year-old coin to come across that major payday. My strategy for hunting them is really straightforward. The most important takeaway is stop looking for the shiny ones in 2014 and start looking for the double dies. Even in lower grades than the one seen here, even in ungraded form, they can be worth hundreds of dollars. Aside from that, for standard coins, Philly is going to be king. Philadelphia coins command the most value because the population is lower in most conditions. It's time to learn about the value and what to look for on your 2015 Lincoln pennies. Let's start off with the Philly Powerhouse. This is a 2015 Philadelphia Shield cent rated MS67 Plus red by PCGS. It sold for $151.88 in the beginning of 2026. This really recent sale lets us start off strong with an absolute blazing coin out of Philly. Finding a modern cent worth over $150 is exactly why we search our bankrolls. That plus grade that this one received means this coin has booming luster and really incredible eye appeal. It's a huge win for any coin roll hunter. Now, when we're talking about those raw 2015 cents that show up in your pocket change, if they show wear, they're not going to be worth any more than face value. Even when you get down to MS63, 64, they're great for albums, but they're not going to bring a premium right now. You're really hunting for those flawless, out-of-the-mint shine coins that just pop to the eye. Those are the ones you're going to want to get graded. What about the early release ones for 2015, though? Let's take a look at this registry gem. This is a 2015 Philly Shield cent graded MS68 red by NGC. It sold for $175.50 in February of 2025. Just look at this gorgeous coin in an NGC holder. This coin also features the early releases Lincoln label, making it a really fantastic trophy for modern registry sets. Hitting an MS68 is a massive achievement and proves the big grades are out there waiting for you to find them. Now, raw, ungraded gems right out of mint sets, things right out of rolls, are where you want to start. While an MS66 is only going to trade for a few dollars right now, training your eye to spot the difference between like a dollar coin and a $200 MS68 is gonna be the key to discovering those massive profits. Speaking of massive profits though, let's talk the $9,900 legend. This is another 2015 Philadelphia Shield cent graded MS68 red from PCGS. This one sold a few years ago in 2022 for $9,954. Nearly $10,000 for a 2015 cent. This is the ultimate proof that modern coins can bring life-changing money sometimes. Now, when this sold, it was a top population condition rarity, and registry set collectors obviously fought hard for it. This is the dream we are all chasing when we go to sell our coins. The owner of this already knew they had a great and beautiful MS68. But garnering $10,000 at auction probably blew their mind like it would any of us. Even if your sharp-looking find comes back in MS67, you're still looking close to a $100 flip. The hunt is always worth it for 2015 Philly coins. Let's move over to Denver, though, and talk about a real star. This is a 2015 D Denver cent, graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $86.63 right at the very end of 2024. Now that we've headed over to the Mile High Mint, we can see just how beautiful of coins came out of there, or at least the possibility, with this MS67. Denver is famous for striking crisp, beautiful pennies for this year. At $86, this is a highly accessible and profitable target for anyone searching through Western bankrolls. It's a solid, consistent moneymaker. They're great to look for. Circulated 2015 D cents are usually just spenders, though, worth the face value. But if you can score an original, unopened 2015 bankroll somewhere, you have a prime opportunity to pull out these uncirculated high-grade winners. We can't talk about 2015 completely, though, without talking about the San Francisco Mirror. This is a 2015 S San Francisco Shield Proof, graded Proof 69 red by NGC. It sold for $16 in September 2025. You're probably wondering, $16? Why is it on the list? Well, we have to talk about every single mint to cover all the Lincoln cents, and sadly, these are just not worth a ton of money right now. It's still an absolute piece of beautiful coin jewelry, so to speak, from the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins have deeply mirrored fields and frosted devices. They're very stunning. At $16, this is one of those affordable but incredible ways to add a premium-looking graded coin to any collection. Ungraded proofs that have been removed from their sets and show fingerprints or hairlines usually drop to $2 or $3. Personally, I would suggest keeping them in their original packaging to preserve that mirror finish. I'm never a fan of popping open proof sets in hopes of getting a high-graded coin. Now, if you come across a proof coin just out in the wild by itself, of course, hunt those all day. The 2015 Shield cent proves that there is a serious treasure hiding in plain sight, sometimes right in your pocket change. Whether you're searching for errors, or hunting for that next $10,000 unicorn, The opportunity is in your hands, and that's what's awesome about this hobby. I mean, heck, worst case, you look through your money, you find nothing, and you end up with the same amount of money you started with. I know I can't say that about a lot of my other hobbies. We aren't just looking for Lincoln cents in general, we're hunting for the 2015 Doubled Die Obverse. One of these sold recently for over $130. If you've been ignoring your 2015 Shield cents because they're too modern, there's a ton of them out there, then you might be missing out. Especially if you can get a hold of uncirculated rolls or just really clean ones out of collections or something, you might be sitting on some really good money if you find one of these errors. First, you gotta know what to look for though. So before we look at the values, let me take a quick second to talk about a 3-point checklist on what to look for to identify these single squeeze double dies. First, you're going to want to look for the football zero. On this error, the inside of the zero looks kind of distorted and elongated. It makes it look kind of like a little football, instead of being a really clear zero. Second, you'll want to look at the Liberty notches. This is where a loop or a USB scope comes into play. Take a look at the bottom corners of the letters in Liberty. You are looking for notching or split serifs where the design has clearly shifted. Third point is to look at the southeast spread. Everything on this coin spreads towards the southeast. If the doubling looks flat or like a shelf, that's just mechanical doubling. This is not going to be worth any heightened value. And I have a video that covers regular real doubling versus mechanical doubling, so check that out if you're a little bit confused. If it's raised and clear, then you've found this double die. Keep in mind that with single squeeze doubling, most of the doubling takes place towards the center of the design. That's the difference also in this type of doubling versus other types of doubling you see on earlier years of Lincoln cents. Let's talk about 3 certified sales so you can see some values. First, we'll start with the MS66 King. This is a 2015 Philadelphia Shield cent with a DDO001 variety graded MS66 Red by Annex. It sold for $130.62 in November of 2025. So this recent sale really makes this Philly coin the king of this 2015 variety. Hitting an MS66 grade, especially on a zinc cent, is tough because they spot so easily. But when you combine that high grade with the best of variety, the WDDO006, you get a triple-digit payout like this one. Even after the grading fees, this was a great profit. This coin is proof that modern coin roll hunting is professional business. You can really make some value. Even if yours has a few tiny carbon spots, you can still pull a premium on these. Even out of pocket change, these can sell for a few bucks raw as well. Let's talk about an MS65 benchmark. This is another 2015 Philly Shield cent with a DDO001 variety, graded MS65 Red by Annex. This one sold for just under $52 in November 2025. Now I know that's a bit lower number, and this is 1 grade point lower, but there's still a great return. This is a wonderful piece for any collection, and the grading certifies the condition. Also notice how consistent this price is. A $50 bill for a penny you found in a bankroll? This is why the hobby's so great. Turning a 1-cent face value coin into 50 bucks. The doubling on the 2 and the 5 is so sharp with this one that you can see it with a basic jeweler's loupe. Raw, ungraded, similar condition copies of this variety often trade for around $15 or $20 on the secondary market, so those are just wonderful altogether. Let's also talk about the VP001 Mystery. This is a 2015 Philadelphia Shield cent with a double die VP001 graded MS66 by NGC. It sold for $92.25 in the latter end of 2023. Although a little bit older sale, this is a great variety. This is the one for specialists. While the WDDO-006 gets really all the looks, the VP-001 is a sleeper, I think. It shows incredible thickening on the inscriptions and is just beautiful altogether. At nearly $100 for this coin, it proves that variety hunters are constantly looking for alternate die states. If you find doubling that doesn't quite look like that weird zero, it could be the VP-001. Because this is a rarer attribution, a raw find can actually be easier to sell to a specialist collector or shop than one that's already graded. But if I take any bit of information from the recent shows I've been at, a dealer or a collector would gobble this coin up in any way you had it. They're always worth value for these really cool varieties. The 2015 DDO isn't just a maybe. It's a high-frequency error that I think is great to get into, great to look for, and they're gonna gain value quickly over time. I suggest you check every 2015 cent, especially the Philadelphia ones. Philly was striking these by the billions, and these dies stayed in the presses long enough to strike thousands of these errors possibly. So the next treasure could be out there. Beat-up coins from 2016 are just worth face value, but let's talk about some valuable ones. Let's start off with the Registry Set Target. This is a 2016 Philadelphia Shield Cent graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for a whopping $60 in the beginning of 2023. We're starting off with a little bit older sale, but not by much, but with a massive win for a business strike cent worth 1 cent. This beautiful MS67 was actually part of the Kirk Weaver PCGS set registry. That tells you everything you need to know about this coin. Serious high-end collectors want pristine modern coins to complete those sets. Hitting a clean MS67 can turn a 1 cent coin into a nice $60 or more value coin. Now, what about the lower grades and the ungraded ones? You're looking for perfection. So pick up unopened bankrolls, or maybe you're lucky you'll get a collection of some sort with really flawless ones in it. These are pretty modern, so I mean, you can find these in pocket change, but generally those are going to be worth face value. If you can pull a really flawless candidate, it's worth sending it off to grade and get certified, because high-grade 2016 Phillies are worth pretty good money. Let's talk about the early release and how it's just not worth much money. This is a 2016 Philly Shield Cent early release, rated MS67 red by NGC. It sold for, you can't believe this, $7 in February of 2025. This is a bulk grading dump if I've ever seen one. Just wait a minute here. $7. Factoring in grading fees, this seller took an obvious and massive loss. So why would someone even do this? Why would they sell the coin for $7? This is the secret side of the coin business. It's bulk grading. Who knows what happened here truly, but a dealer likely sent in 100 or more coins, maybe all 2016 cents, hoping to hit an elusive multi-$100 MS68 or something. When this one came back as an MS67, they sold it immediately. They took the loss. They wanted to clear the inventory, recoup a fraction of those fees so they can get back at it. Their loss is a massive opportunity for you, though. This is a buyer's dream. $7 for an MS67 that's undoubtedly going to gain really good value, albeit over time. Let's head over to the Mile High Mint, though, to talk about the Denver Steel. This is a 2016 D Denver Shield Cent early release, graded MS67 red by NGC. You won't believe this, it's sold for $1 more than the previous coin, for $8 in February 2024. Now these coins are just not sought after. Denver's that mint for 2016 Lincoln cents that unless you crest into perfection, you're not really going to see any value. Just like the Philly strike, this was likely a bulk grading cast-off. Denver strikes from 2016 are typically super strong, making MS67s actually a bit easier to find. At $8, it's a beautifully graded Lincoln label coin that you can add to your collection without breaking the bank whatsoever. It's less than the cost of fast food these days. If you are a roll hunter, pristine 2016 D cents are abundant in fresh rolls. Build an incredible raw collection first before you think about spending the money on sending one in for grading though. Let's move over further west though and talk about the birth set perfection. Now we're going to get into a little bit of money. This is a 2016 S San Francisco birth set proof rated Proof 70 Deep Cameo from PCGS. It sold for $79.52 in April of 2024. Now we are talking about absolute perfection. This proof coin achieved the flawless PR70 grade. This is exactly what you want for any proof you send in for grading. I don't care what year it is. Plus this one has the special birth set first strike pedigree. These specialized US mint sets are super popular, they're really cool, and when they grade out at a perfect 70, the value just jumps. In this case, nearly $80. If a proof coin drops even 1 point to a PR69, it's worth around $10 to $20. With modern proofs, it's literally perfection or bust. Let's talk about the standard proof winner. This is another 2016 S San Francisco Shield proof graded Proof 70 Red Deep Cameo from PCGS. It sold for $82.33 in the middle of 2025. This coin shows the standard Proof 70 Deep Cameo. Notice how this standard proof actually sold for a little bit more than that birth set version. This is because of the modern registry game. Plastic really matters in some cases, but the undeniable perfection of this coin is king. An $82 return on a modern proof is a massive victory. If they sent it in a bulk submission, they definitely made some money on this one. Ungraded proof sets are still great to pick up for 2016 because they're incredibly cheap. As you know, proof sets may not gain too much value over time, but if you have a sharp eye, you might be able to spot one of those coins in a proof set worth busting it out and sending it in for grading. Most notably, you might be able to cherry pick yourself the absolute best of Lincoln cent for 2016 out of a nice clean roll, and I hope you do. Let me give you a small 3-point checklist for finding the most premium 2016 Lincoln cents. First, the zinc spot check. Modern cents are copper-plated zinc. They are highly prone to black carbon spots or zinc rot. You are looking for a 100% spot-free surface under a 10 times loop. If you don't have a cheap loop, I always link one in every video. Next, look for booming luster. We don't just want shiny here. We want cartwheel luster that jumps right out at you. When you tilt the coin in the light, you should see unbroken bands of light spinning around the surfaces of the coin. Now, if we're talking about proofs, really good isn't good enough. You are looking for absolute, undeniable perfection. So get that second, get that third opinion before you send it off to grade. No milk spots, no hairlines, no scratches, absolutely flawless. Let's take a look at certified sales of these coins that can show how a 1-cent coin from 2017 can turn into a $160 payday. So let's jump into it. Let's take a look at the historic P Premium. This is a 2017 P Philadelphia Shield scent, graded MS68 Red from NGC. It sold for $168.75 in the middle of 2023. I wanted to start off with a massive hit for a modern, billion mintage penny. This shows the power of the MS68 grade for this historic year. Collectors wanted the absolute best example of the only P mint mark scent ever made for their registry sets, driving this price to nearly $170. A note here is that because people hoarded these, MS65s, MS66s aren't going to really turn too much of a profit. Your uncirculated rolls need to yield absolute perfection in order to hit those triple-digit prices. What about autograph coin slabs? This is another 2017 P Philadelphia Shield scent, graded MS68 Red from NGC, but with a Lyndall Bass signed label. This sold for $86.53 in November of 2025, so not too long ago. Here is the exact same MS68 grade from the same grading company, but this sold more recently with a special designer label. Lyndall Bass is the artist who designed the Shield reverse we see on Lincoln scents. Having her signature on the holder is a really cool and massive bonus for dedicated collectors. But notice the price drop from $168 in 2023 down to about $90 in late 2025. This shows the market stabilizing as more MS68s were graded between those two periods of time. It's a great reminder that if you grade on a top population modern scent, sell it while the hype is there. You can really turn a profit sometimes. Also take note that when this coin drops in grade when you pull them out of those uncirculated rolls to say something between MS60 and 65, they're going to drop down to only about $20 in value. So those would be a hold piece to have in your collection, or simply grading is not worth it for coins that are beat up. Let's head over to the Mile High Mint, though, to talk about the Denver Contender. This is a 2017 D Denver Shield scent, rated MS68 Red with a Lincoln label from NGC. This sold for $98 in November of 2025. We need to take a look at what the Denver Mint was doing. Back in 2017, Denver didn't get a special anniversary mint mark. They just got their standard D mint mark. But because everyone was obsessed with the Philly coins, the Denver strikes were somewhat ignored. Hitting an MS68 on a Denver strike is a fantastic $100 plus victory. If you found a 2017 D in your change, it's normally just a spender, sadly. If it is truly flawless, and you can send it off to grade and get a pretty high grade, this is where the value lies. Otherwise, most Denver scents are just album builders. Let's go further west to the San Francisco Mint to talk about the standard proof winner. This is a 2017 S San Francisco Shield Proof First Strike graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. This sold for $57.25 in November of 2025. As you know, proof coins are like jewelry for the numismatic world. They're meant to be perfect, they're struck to be flawless. Getting a perfect Proof 70 with the First Strike designation is still really awesome and hard to do in a lot of cases. And to pick it up for under $60 makes it a highly accessible entry point for any of us collectors or new collectors that want to get into the hobby and get a flawless asset for under $100. If you're going to grade your 2017 proof coins, you want them to be flawless. The value tanks if it is not a super clean specimen of this coin. This is a 2017 S San Francisco Shield Proof graded Proof 70 Red Deep Cameo by PCGS. It's also from the Terry's Toners collection, which adds some pedigree. It sold for $75.78 in March of 2026. So here we have a perfect proof that carries a famous collector's pedigree. This sale is really hot off the presses too, from early 2026. Notice how it brought nearly $20 more than the first strike version. This is because the Terry's Toner collection adds that pedigree, adds that history and provenance. Serious collectors will pay a premium to own a coin that came from a famous curated set like this. But you can't fake a pedigree. If you are buying raw 2017 proof sets to grade yourself or just to collect, expect your PR70 hits to max out at usually around $50 to $60. Because 2017 is the only year with the P under the date, millions of people hoarded these coins when they came out. That means finding a regular 2017 Philadelphia is easy, but finding one that is actually worth grading and worth big money requires a trained eye. So let's hit a checklist on finding those great coins. First, look right under the date. You want the Philadelphia mint mark to be struck razor sharp, so no die chips filling the loop of the P and no carbon spots anywhere on the coin, especially near the date. Also keep in mind the grading jump. An MS67 is of course a beautiful coin, but in 2017, the real money starts in perfection from MS68 and higher. When you are hunting for coins that can be paired with those special labels, keep in mind that the one signed by Lyndall Bass, the actual artist who designed the Union Shield reverse, can hold some really good value. We're going to break down quite a few different certified sales for these coins, including one that sold for over $2,000. We're also going to look at the cold hard facts of the grading market, including a trap that costs one collector serious money. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at the MS68 Standard. This is a 2018 Philadelphia Shield cent, graded MS68 red with a Lincoln label from NGC. It sold for $130.50 in September of 2025, so not very long ago. I think this is the realistic peak for most high-end roll hunters. Hitting an MS68 after you send something to grade is a huge accomplishment, and even really clean ungraded versions of these coins can sell for far above face value. This does require sourcing original bankrolls and carefully extracting coins that have never touched human hands, or at least appear so. At $130, this is a beautiful return on this investment, and it's a key piece for any modern registry set. This is simply a beautiful coin. Let's take the 1 point plunge though. This is another 2018 Philadelphia Shield cent first strike, graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $16.01 in March of 2025. This is going to show the harsh reality of modern coin grading. The main note here is that this coin is just one grade point lower than an MS68, of course, yet the price plummeted from $130 down to $16. Factoring in $20 to $40 for a grading fee, the person who submitted this coin lost money even if they were just trying to cast it away to begin with. And maybe on the other hand, they just accepted the loss and knew they were going to take it. It's a brutal reminder that you must be a real factual critic of your own coins before sending them off to get graded. You could just waste your money. Let's move over to the Mile High Mint though, to talk about a mile high monster. This is a 2018 D Denver Shield cent first strike, graded MS69 red by PCGS. This sold for $2,428.75 in July of 2024. This coin here is an absolute treasure. It is the absolute ceiling for the 2018 market. Although this sale was a little while ago, it really captures the sheer value you can get to if you're able to uncover a truly flawless Denver coin from this year. An MS69 on a business strike zinc cent is basically a statistical anomaly. It means the coin was struck perfectly, ejected perfectly, rolled perfectly, and then preserved. When a registry set collector needs that top population to beat the rivals, they will pay whatever it takes, and that shows here. But what about the trap I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video? Take a quick look at the flip side. This is another 2018 D graded MS67 red by NGC, and it sold for only $11 in November of 2025. You would think a special proof-like designation on the label would make it more valuable, right? The market dictates that the base grade MS67 has so many of them at that grade that it's common. That PL designation couldn't even save it from being a total financial loss for the submitter. Let's travel further onward to talk about the standard proof winner. This is a 2018 S San Francisco Shield Scent Proof Finish early release, rated Proof 70 UC by NGC. It sold for $41 in June of 2025. Now that we've moved over to the San Francisco Mint, we want to take a look at what the flawless 70 proofs look like, and this one is Ultra Cameo. Modern proofs are expected to be perfect though, so $41 is actually a good and highly accessible price for a beautiful asset. It's a great way to own that certified perfection without risking the high premiums of the business strike market for this year. Anything lower than 70 is gonna be a total loss in comparison to the grading fees, meaning if your proof coin is not truly flawless looking, it's not worth sending off. Like I've said before, 2018 is just one of those odd years for Lincoln Cents. They're either worth a ton of money or really not much at all. To hit those massive four-figure paydays, you really have to be critical with yourself as far as whether the coin is pure looking and flawless, and really take a look and rely on the data and verifiable condition of the coins. I love hunting for 2018 Lincoln Cents in coin rolls, but no matter how you're searching for them, let's cover a couple little tips on what to look for. First, the untouched surface. As you know, zinc cents are notorious for bagging and scratching in the mint hoppers. They're beat up before they even get to the bank. You're looking for truly flawless coins, so bust out that microscope, bust out that loupe. You really want to take close looks at your 2018 coins to ensure that they are in the best condition. Remember also from our example, the proof-like illusion. Sometimes business strikes come off fresh dies looking mirrored, almost like a proof coin. That's where that PL comes from. But as we saw, PL doesn't automatically mean profit if the base grade is just not high enough. In essence, 2018 Shield Cents prove that there is zero room for error in the modern market. You can't just hope a coin is going to come back in the high MS grades. You have to really know it with these. Take a look at the Philadelphia benchmark. This is a 2019 Philadelphia Shield Cent graded MS69 red by Annex. It sold for $90 in December of 2024. Let's establish our baseline with the standard Philly strike. Philadelphia would mint nearly 3.5 billion pennies in 2019. Finding an MS69 requires ripping original bankrolls and finding a coin that managed to escape the minting hoppers without a single bag mark. That's crazy enough as it is. At almost $100, this is a highly realistic, solid return on investment for dedicated roll hunters. Even with the grading fees taken into account, the seller of this coin still made a really good profit. At MS68, this coin's usually worth around $30 to $50, which is a little profit. Anything MS69 or Perfection at 70 is where you hit the real value. Speaking of grade, what about the lower grade trap? Take a look at this 2019 Philly Shield Cent first day of issue, graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $32.11 in March of 2025. I wanted to show this sale because it perfectly illustrates the danger of grading modern coins. This coin has the special first day of issue pedigree, but the base grade of MS67 really kills the value. Modern zinc cents in MS67 are simply super common. Also factoring in $20 to $40 of a grading fee, including shipping, the person who submitted this coin probably lost money. So why even get it graded? Well, they might have had their own reasons, but I could see it mainly being certifying the coin and certifying the condition, as well as preserving the coin in general, and hopefully it gaining value over time. In my opinion, you should keep anything that's around this type of condition in raw, ungraded form. Still put it in a binder or a 2x2 flip, but hold on to it for a while. It's not one of those crazy financial assets, but it's a really cool album filler and will gain value over time. Let's jump over to the Mile High Mint though and talk about the Denver Proof-like Disappointment. This is a 2019 D Denver Shield set from the Explore and Discover set, graded MS67 Red Proof-like by PCGS. It sold for a whopping $37.11 in March of 2025. So now we're talking about the Proof-like designation. I think these are really cool, but there's some catches to them. The US Mint released a special Explore and Discover set in 2019, and many of the Denver pennies inside had heavily mirrored fields, almost like a proof coin. So they earned the PL or Proof-like designation. However, just like the last coin, the base grade is kind of lower comparatively to other coins out of uncirculated rolls or sets. It's an MS67. The fancy PL designation really only added about $5 in value here. Grade is really going to be king when it comes to modern cents in general. So you can see that even this premium label or designation didn't help the value really. You have to have basically a flawless coin to really get value. Although lower in price, I do want to talk about a really accessible piece of perfection from 2019, and that's the proof coins. This is a 2019 S San Francisco Proof first day of issue rated Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $36.36 in December of 2025. So now we're taking a look at the San Francisco Proof Strike. This is a flawless Proof 70 Deep Cameo coin. So why the heck did it only sell for $36? I mean, that's really low. This is because modern proofs are struck specifically for collectors using specially prepared dies and polished planchets. The survival rate of perfect 70s is actually really high. At under $40 though, this is the perfect purchase. A great entry-level coin for anyone who wants to own certified perfection without taking a huge financial plunge. Now, a lower grade note though, do not buy modern proofs graded PR69 unless they are essentially free, really low price, or something else is going on with it, like it's a lower graded coin than that but has great toning or something. The market strictly demands PR70 for these, or no real value is going to be seen. Next, let's talk about that fourth facility that was pumping out cents for this year, the famous W penny. This is a 2019 W West Point Shield set, first day of issue, graded MS69 Red by PCGS. It sold for $76.15 in March of 2025. Now here's a coin with two great things going on. One, we're getting back into the money a bit. We're almost at $80 here, and that's some good value. Also, I think this coin is one of those pennies, one of those Lincoln cents, whatever you want to refer to it as, that brought thousands of new collectors into the hobby. The 2019 W was a brilliant marketing move by the Mint, I think. This was included only as a bonus in standard uncirculated sets. It also represents the first time the West Point Mint mark appeared on a Lincoln cent. When these first released, MS69s were selling for much more. You can go back in time a bit over the years since their release and see that they were getting crazy prices when they first started. Now today the market is stabilized though, and I like to be factual. I wouldn't have showed you $30 coins earlier if I wasn't trying to tell you real values here. This isn't some random clickbait website. I tell you real values of your money, so that way you're not wasting your time looking for something if you're flipping it, you're trying to make money off the hobby, but also you know truly what you're getting yourself into if you're trying to complete sets or something. The market is stabilized for these. It's generally around $75 to $100, and that's the standard going rate for even nearly flawless examples. Lastly, let's talk about a $1,600 Denver Monster. Now this is a bit older sale, but I wanted to show you kind of the height of value for the 2019 cents. This is a 2019 D Denver Shield cent graded MS69 red by PCGS. It sold for $1,631.25 in 2020. So it is an old sale, but we end with the absolute pinnacle of 2019 business strikes. You might be wondering why Denver cent sold for over $1,600, especially when the Philadelphia MS69 only brought about 90. It all comes down to population. For whatever reason, the Denver Mint's quality control in 2019 made finding a truly high condition coin really hard to do. When top tier registry set collectors need the highest graded Denver penny to complete their set, it's always a massive bidding war. This is the ultimate example of the MS69 leap. An MS68 version is only worth like $20. That one single point of grade made a real difference, and we're talking like a $1,500 difference. 2019 is all about navigating modern perfection, I think. So here's 3 points to help you hunt those 2019 Lincoln cents. Keep in mind the West Point Premium. 2019 was the only year you could get a W Mint Mark penny. They were not put into circulation. They were special premiums included with uncirculated mint sets. They are a mandatory piece for any modern collection. Also, don't get caught up in the proof-like or PL illusion. Many 2019 D Lincoln cents pulled from that Explore and Discover set have great, deep, mirrored fields, earning a proof-like designation. But as we saw with that sale, which wasn't long ago, it really doesn't make much of a difference in value. So don't get caught up in that if you're out buying graded coins. Lastly, the MS69 standard. This one's really straightforward. For 2019 and most modern coins, it's either flawless or bust. It's the top condition coins that are always going to pull the best values, unless there's an error, variety, or some cool toning or something going on that drives the value up. So let's talk about a realistic, profitable target that you can actually find in your pocket change today. We're going to talk about the 2019 Philly Lincoln Shield cent. Now, are these going to pay off the mortgage? No, but this is exactly where the smart money starts. I'm talking about modern, single squeeze, double die obverse errors. Now you might be confused already, so let me break them down. In the modern minting era, the US Mint uses a single squeeze process. Because of this, massive, dramatic doubling, like the famous 1955 and the 1972 Lincoln cents, are almost impossible. Modern doubling is really subtle, and it usually shows up in the center of the die, or as thickened lettering. Take a look at this one. At a glance, it looks like a shiny, boring zinc cent. But look closer at the date. See how fat those numbers look? That isn't a heavy strike, that's a Class 6 distended hub doubling, which is a really fancy way of saying it's a distorted, thickened masterpiece that most people miss. How the heck do you identify these? To find the DDO 001, this Class 6 doubling, the design elements are actually stretched and distended. So these are the 3 main things. You'll want to look for date distortion. Look closely at the numbers 2 and 0 in 2019. You will see a strong spread and extra thickness that makes the numbers look fat. Also look for the spread on the word Liberty. Check the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. They will show a noticeable thickening and distension. Also, the Stage B markers. If you think you have one, look for the fingerprints of the die, so to speak. In Stage B, there is a light die crack on Lincoln's forehead and a tiny die gouge, a small dot just above the N in the word cent on the reverse. Now let's look at the value of two different coins with double dies. First, let's start with that 001 benchmark. This is a 2019 Philadelphia Lincoln cent with a DDO 001 Stage B EMDS, graded MS66 red by Annex. Now I know that's a mouthful, we'll get to breaking it down, but it sold for $61.59 right at the very end of 2025. This is the coin that proves why variety hunting is worth your time. Now Annex is the gold standard for verifying error and variety coins, and has been for a few years. It's really tough, if not impossible, with PCGS and NGC to get certain errors verified. Now those labels do sometimes sell higher though, and that might have been the case here. This specific coin is in early mid-die state, or EMDS, even though the die was starting to show wear, which is evidenced by that forehead crack. The doubling remains razor sharp and well defined. At over $60, this is a massive return on a single penny, even with the grading fees at the time. This isn't hype, this is a documented, attributed variety that collectors actively compete for, and really one that you can find in your pocket change. Speaking of which, even if you do find this one out in the wild, it's still an easy flip for $15 or $20 to the right variety specialists because of that recognizable thickness. Next, let's take a look at this 2019 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield cent with a WDDO. It's graded MS66 red by Annex, and it sold for only $26 in November of 2025. Now I know what you're already thinking. Only $26, but grading probably costs more than that. You would be correct. Now, if this was sent in with a ton of coins in a bulk submission, maybe a couple of dollars made, but the main thing here is this is how you certify your error and variety coins. We have a sister variety listed in the Wexler files. While this coin is also graded MS66 red, it brought significantly less than that first coin. The WDDO 002 also features extra thickness on the date and the word Liberty, but it is considered a minor variety compared to that 001. Again, this $26 price point is a real warning. If you find one of these errors, I would sell it ungraded. Now you're going to have to take it to a shop, maybe to a coin expo, where you can get actual verification on your find, but after you pay Annex for the grading and attribution fee, a $26 sale means you're probably going to lose money if you're looking to flip it. Now if you're a true collector, you're planning to hold on to it and let it gain value over time, sending it off to grade and eating the grading fee is well worth it with these. The 2019 Philly cents are a treasure map for anyone with a loop and a box of pennies, or even if you're hunting pocket change. There are even other errors on the 2019 Ds, so check my video out on that. The great thing about these is you don't need a $1,000 budget, you don't have to be a master in finding errors and varieties in your change. You can find these right in your cup holder, that old jar, in that sock you keep change in, or under the couch. So these are really cool. I hope you found this video helpful in how to identify them, and at least show you, hey, even if they're not worth $1 million, turning a 1 cent face value coin into $50 or $60 is pretty awesome in my opinion. We're going to look at a 2020 cent that sold for around $50, and another one that went well over $4,000. So let's get into it. First up, let's talk about a Philadelphia baseline. This is a 2020 Philadelphia Lincoln cent, first strike, graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $101.25 in January of 2026. So this is a pretty recent establishment of the baseline for Philly. This is of course a gorgeous, fully red coin. It hit an MS67 grade, which is really solid, and has that first strike label. Because Philadelphia produced billions of Lincoln cents, though, finding an MS67 actually isn't impossible. They usually sell for between $80 and around $150. If you're new to the hobby, understanding that first strike just means the coin was received by the grading company within the first 30 days of release. It doesn't mean the coin was better struck or it's going to automatically get a higher grade. Speaking of higher grade, though, let's talk about that $4,000 giant. This is another 2020 Philadelphia Lincoln cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold in July of 2023 for $4,387.50. Now, this sale is a couple years old, but it really establishes the territory of elite modern condition, I think. Just look at that price realized. Over $4,000 for a cent struck in 2020. Why is that? This is because getting a zinc penny through the minting process into a bag, through ballistic shipping, and into a slab without a single microscopic scratch or plating bubble is a miracle unto itself. This is a true population rarity. Look at your coin under a loupe or microscope. If you see tiny, pimple-like bumps on the surface, those are called plating blisters. These are incredibly common for modern cents, and they'll completely destroy your chances of getting a high grade like this, so watch out. Let's jump over to the Mile High Mint in Denver, though, to talk about a true discount. This is a 2020D Denver Lincoln cent first strike graded MS67 red by PCGS, and it sold for only $58.50 in September of 2024. So we've headed over west, and we're taking a look at the D mint marks. This coin came from the famous Meldrum family registry set. It's an MS67 red with a first strike designation like that first coin. Yet it only sold for like $60. At that price, after you pay for grading, shipping, and the auction fees, the seller probably lost money on the coin. So why did they even get it graded? Why did they sell it? Well, it could have been included in a bulk grading submission. They're simply trying to verify the condition of the coin or preserve it, or heck, they thought they were going to make more money from that first strike label. They didn't, and so they're just hawking it off for whatever they can get. Registry sets are collections where hobbyists compete to have the highest graded sets possible. When the sets get broken up and sold, sometimes amazing coins can sell for a really massive discount like this one. Maybe you like a little bit of mystery, so let's talk about a bit of mystery from Annex. This is another 2020D Denver Lincoln cent graded MS69 red from Annex. It sold for $481.50 right at the end of 2025. Now here is a true lesson in grading companies and plastic. This coin graded out at a staggering MS69 by Annex, just 1 point away from absolute perfection. But because it's not graded by PCGS or NGC, it didn't pull thousands, but still commanded close to $500, which is actually a massive premium for the Annex slab. PCGS and NGC are considered the top-tier grading services, along with Annex. Annex is actually a lot older, a very respected company, but I'll tell you what, their slabs are always going to sell less usually. They just aren't as pristine looking, I think, and they don't picture as well as PCGS and NGC slabs when you throw them in front of a camera. So I think that really plays into the value of them, but I love picking up Annex slabs. You usually get a deal compared to the same coin, same grade from one of the other companies. Let's jump over to San Francisco, though, and talk about the first day proof. This is a 2020 S Proof Lincoln cent, first day of issue, graded PR70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $120.38 on November 2nd, 2025. This very recent sale moves to the collector strikes out of San Francisco. Now this is a perfect Proof 70 with a deep cameo contrast. The fields are like black glass and the devices are frosted white. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous coin. Even with a premium first day of issue though, it only realized $120. Now that's nothing to cry about for a brand new penny. A 2020 Lincoln cent is pretty new. Decam or deep cameo means there is a heavy contrast between the shiny, mirror-like background of the coin and the frosted, matte-looking image of Lincoln's bust. It's highly desired by any collector and a beautiful coin. But what about the standard proof? This is another 2020S Proof Lincoln cent graded PR70 Deep Cameo by PCGS, but it doesn't sport the first day of issue. This sold for $146.25 in February of 2026. Wait a minute, look at this. An even more recent sale, it doesn't have the first day of issue label like the last coin, but it sold for more. This proves exactly what I preach about in lots of my videos. Do not pay a massive premium for special marketing labels. Buy the coin, not the hype. Sometimes auction prices fluctuate simply based on who is in the room or bidding online that day. Don't assume a label automatically guarantees more money. Sometimes, more often than not, you'll see that it doesn't. Now that we've looked at a few different certified auction sales, what do you think about these 2020 Lincoln cents? Are you going to start searching for them? If you're going to pull real money out of modern pocket change, you have to understand the zinc penny problem. So let me highlight 3 combat points in your war for finding really good 2020 Lincoln cents. First, the MS67 cliff. Since 1982, pennies are made of copper-plated zinc. Zinc is incredibly reactive, it oxidizes, it bubbles, it corrodes, it scratches. Finding a modern business strike in anything in mid-MS grade or higher is really hard to do, so if you find that absolutely flawless 2020 Lincoln cent, set it aside and consider getting it graded. Next, the first strike label versus standard. In the modern market specifically, grading companies use designations like first strike or first day of issue to create kind of some artificial scarcity or just to add some flair to the label. As you've seen in the video, the market doesn't always care about these labels. Lastly, the Proof 70 standard. For modern Lincoln cents, unless they have an error, a variety of some weird sort, or crazy toning, you need perfection or it's bust. You must hit flawless, perfect Proof 70 Deep Cameo. This is where the money really hits. PR69s are sadly only worth a few bucks in most cases for modern proof cents. We're going to look at a nearly perfect modern cent that sold for about $12, but then another one that shattered the ceiling at over $4,000. So let's jump into it. Let's take a look at some certified examples so you know what these sell for, and I'll explain why they sold for that. First up, let's talk about the monster out of Philadelphia. This is a 2021 Philadelphia Lincoln cent graded MS69 red by PCGS. It sold for $4,646.16 on August 31st of 2025. This sale here establishes the absolute ceiling for modern zinc. In raw circulated condition, a 2021 penny is worth generally 1 cent. Even those uncirculated bankrolls really only have a couple dollars of value over the face value maybe. This is one of those population anomalies. A business strike modern zinc penny Surviving the minting and shipping process with zero flaws to achieve this grade of MS69 is like a miracle. Elite registry set builders went to war over this coin, and that shows in that $4,600 price tag. Keep in mind though, if you're new to the hobby, understand that modern coins are mass produced by the billions. They're not rare, so condition is the only thing that creates value here. This one is graded at the top end of the scale and is one of the finest examples known. What about that grading trap I mentioned earlier though? This is a 2021 Philadelphia Lincoln Cent as well, graded MS67 Red by NGC, and is an early release. It sold for $12.50 in August of 2025 also. Same year, same mint, but a harsh dose of reality. Ungraded values for these are generally 1 cent. This is an absolute bloodbath as well. The submitter paid a grading fee, paid extra for the early release Lincoln label, and the coin sold for $12. After all of that, they definitely lost significant money. MS67s are simply too common for this year of penny to carry any premium. Also, you can see that Lincoln label for early release added absolutely no value, which you can see in a lot of other videos I've made covering a lot of years of Lincoln Cents. Those specialty labels really don't add value unless the coin itself was already valuable to begin with. Speaking of discrepancies though, let's head over to the Mile High Mint to talk about a slab discrepancy. This is a 2021 D Denver Lincoln Cent, graded MS69 Red by Annex. It sold for $31 in March of 2024. This is a little bit older sale, but it's a really important lesson in modern grading, and I think you can kind of apply this to any collectible you want to grade. The ungraded value of most 2021 D cents is 1 cent. But wait a minute. The first coin was an MS69 also, and it sold for over $4,000. Why is this one only selling for $31? Because top-tier registry set builders are going to pay thousands to compete strictly in PCGS and the NGC ecosystem. While Annex is a respected legacy grader, their ultra-modern, ultra-high grades simply do not command top-tier premiums. You usually see the values for similarly graded coins out of the other grading companies pulling in better premiums when they go to auction. When targeting the absolute top of the population reports, so those MS68, 69s, the specific grading company sometimes dictates a financial return. Speaking of financial return though, let's talk about a valuable Denver coin. This is a 2021 D Denver Lincoln Cent, graded MS67 Plus Red by PCGS with a first strike designation. This sold for $180. Let's look at how that single plus mark saves a submission. That previous MS67 Philly coin of the same grade sold for only $12. This one is an MS67 Plus. That tiny half-point upgrade, combined with the PCGS holder, pushed this coin from a financial loss to a solid $180 realized. A plus grade means the coin is at the absolute top end of its assigned grade. It appears premium for that grade even under 10 times magnification, setting this coin apart from some of the others we've already discussed. We can't forget about San Francisco, though. What about the Proof Premium for 2021? This is a 2021 S San Francisco Lincoln Cent, first day of issue, graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo from PCGS. It sold at the very end of 2025 for $92.58. This is that brand preference that strikes again. Raw proofs sit around $3 to $5, maybe a little more. This is the same perfect PR70 grade as that last coin, but the combination of the PCGS slab and the first day of issue label pushed the realized price close to $100. This is a safer margin, but still highly speculative for the grading fees involved, because even after you factor that in, you're really only talking maybe a $15 or $20 profit. If you're in the market for buying modern proofs, it is almost always cheaper to buy them already graded on the secondary market than to submit them to a grading company yourself, in my opinion. 2021 Lincoln Cents are really awesome to look for because they're modern, and there's a ton of them out there. Here's 3 checkpoints to know while you're hunting them. First, finding a modern zinc penny in an extremely high grade like MS68 or higher is incredibly difficult due to the reactive zinc blisters and all the bag marks that most of these have. If you are to come across a truly flawless one, protect it in a 2x2 flipper album and consider getting it graded. Also keep in mind the brand discrepancy. You saw how all of those values changed up and down, waxed and waned, depending on the grading company. Now, Annex is wonderful for varieties and errors. They will attribute most minor varieties and errors that PCGS and NGC won't. On the flip side, though, you see higher sales premiums for PCGS slabs. Third, the plus grade premium. If you're buying graded coins, and you're able to pick up ones that have that plus designation on the grade, that can be the difference between losing the grading fees involved and actually making a profit. Or if you're buying already graded coins, you'll see heightened values on your returns with that plus grade. The easiest way to find these coins is going to be in those original bankrolls or buying already graded versions. The modern Lincoln Cent market is built on ruthless exactness. You're not going to survive on luck or by throwing handfuls of pocket change at PCGS or NGC. You really got to know what you're looking for. You're going to want to look for very flawless coins with zero microscopic zinc blisters or any marks on them. Our first coin is going to establish a baseline, a high baseline. This is a 2022 Philadelphia Lincoln Cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold for $2,328.75 in November of 2025. This is a super recent auction sale that establishes the top tier baseline for Philly, I think. Now in raw, ungraded, circulated, or even some uncirculated conditions, a standard 2022 cent is worth around its face value of 1 cent. This is the condition anomaly in action though. Surviving the massive minting bins, the shipping process, without any blisters, any bangs, any bag marks, and hitting MS68 is crazy. The demand from PCGS registry collectors is always going to drive coins like this well into the thousands. So that's an area for you. You're looking for flawless coins, but they can command really good money. Let's talk about an exception though. 2022 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield Cent graded MS67 red from PCGS from the Terry's Toners collection. It sold for $196.88 in March of 2026. This is super recent and an incredible lesson in the secondary market premiums. Now, of course, again, ungraded regular old 2022 Philadelphia Lincoln Cents that even look decent to the naked eye are generally worth a penny. But don't fret though, you can come across really wonderful ones. Normally, an MS67 modern zinc cent could be really worth about the grading fee. The fees generally eat up the value. So why did this one pull over $200? 2 reasons: toning and pedigree. If you've watched any of my other content, you know I love toned coins. This coin comes from the famous specialized collection, Terry's Toners, and features unique surface coloration. Toning is that natural oxidation of the coin's surface, which can create some beautiful colors and really add value. Let's jump over to the Mile High Mint though to talk about a plus grade phenomenon. This is a super valuable coin
a 2022D Denver Lincoln Shield Scent graded MS68 Plus Red by PCGS. It sold for $3,729.38 in April of 2026. This is the absolute ceiling for the modern market, and this is a super recent sale. Generally, these are worth the face value of 1 cent. This coin achieved a 68 plus though, meaning it has the eye appeal bordering on a 69. Because a true MS69 is practically unheard of in the modern era, registry collectors will wage bidding wars over these plus grades to lock in that top spot. We have to talk about that brand discrepancy I talked about in the beginning of the video. This is a 2022D Denver Shield Scent graded MS69 Red by NGC. It sold for $1,350 in May of 2025. So another really recent auction sale, but you have to pay very close attention to this sale. These coins are of course worth 1 cent normally. And wait a minute, the previous coin was an MS68 Plus that sold for over $3,000. This is a mathematically higher MS69, but it sold for over $2,000 less. This is because the heaviest hitters in the ultra-modern Lincoln Scent market have favored PCGS kind of exclusively in the registry. Even though NGC is a top-tier grader, the market simply does not assign the same multiplier to their modern slabs. So if you're buying graded coins, I would suggest you veer towards PCGS when it comes to Lincoln Scents. Let's head over to California, though, to talk about the proof coins real quick. This is a 2022S San Francisco Lincoln Scent first day of issue graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $75.78 in November of 2025. The specialized collector strikes. A raw, broken out 2022 proof is usually worth around $3 to $6. Even with a great, perfect PR70 grade, a PCGS slab, and the specialized first day of issue label, this coin barely broke $75. Modern proofs are laser engineered to be flawless. Perfection is basically the rule and not the exception. Really, I don't think you should ever submit a modern proof coin for grading to make any sort of quick profit or anything like that. The grading fees, the shipping, any special label will often exceed the final auction price if you go to sell it right off the bat. Now, if you're trying to solidify condition and preserve the coin, then of course, get it graded because proof coins are awesome. They're flawless looking and absolutely stunning. The ultra-modern Shield Scent market is obviously ruthless, as you can see. The data proves that you are not just grading the coin, you also have to worry about what grader you use sometimes. If you want to play the condition game with 2002 Lincoln Scents, you really have to be honest with yourself, really look well under your loupe, under your microscope, and look for those flawless coins. Target Denver and Philadelphia original bankrolls. Look for flawless surfaces. If you truly believe you have a high MS grade coin, send that thing in for grading. You could be sitting on tons of money. First, let's get right into the Extra V phenomenon. This is a 2023 Philadelphia Lincoln Scent with an Extra V variety, graded MS69 Red by NGC. It sold for $6,806.25 in February of 2025, and there's numerous other sales for lower condition ones up to this condition that are selling for hundreds or thousands also. This is the modern cherry picker's dream. Even in raw condition, an Extra V can pull anywhere from $20 to over $100 depending on the eye appeal. But in this mathematically near-perfect MS69, the registry demand pushes it to the stratosphere. First off, how do you find the thing? You need a 10 times or 15 times loop, a USB microscope, or something to magnify the coin really well. Flip to the obverse or front of the coin, and look directly at the bottom edge of Lincoln's shoulder truncation. This is the designer Victor David Brenner on the original penny. They then used it on this shield cent to commemorate him as the designer. On the 2023 Philadelphia error, there is a distinct, misplaced V struck directly to the right of the initials. This is a massive die anomaly, and finding one raw in the original bankroll is exactly why we hunt modern coins, but even finding one in your pocket change with a little bit of damage to it can still be a great payday. So what are 3 points of combat for hunting down this error and other really good 2023 pennies? Well, let me cover those before we get to the regular coins. First off, make sure that you know the major die variety. 2023 gave us the extra V error on the Philly cents, so make sure you look for that. Also, don't get caught up in the grading traps. We're going to look at hard math today. Sending a modern 2023 cent in for grading that comes back at anything less than MS66 is probably going to lose you money if it's not an error. Also, keep in mind the proof ceiling. We'll establish the baseline for what a perfect modern strike is actually worth and it should look like, so you don't get burned by slabbing common modern collector coins. Let's get into those regular coins and those certified auction sales. This is a 2023 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield cent graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $63.14 in 2024. You can see this go along with more recent sales, and it's really a harsh reality of the modern market. Anyone that collects Lincoln cents can tell you that many of them are worth just that, 1 cent. If you find a brilliant, shiny 2023 cent and send it into PCGS, if it grades an MS67, then you probably lost money. After grading fees and stuff like that, realistically you might have pocketed $5 or $10. Modern coins are not rare by mintage. They are only rare by absolute perfection and eye appeal, or by varieties or errors. With designations like red or RD, this is going to be required for top-tier modern value, and where you see the coins that hit the auction block that really retain 95% or more of their original mint luster and copper red color, and they usually strike for really good values. Let's hop over to the Denver Mint, though, to talk about a registry ceiling and a really valuable cent that you can look for this year that doesn't have an error. This is a 2023 D Denver Lincoln Shield cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold for $2,307.38 in July of 2025. This is where that profit margin flips. Jumping just 1 point on the Sheldon scale from a 67 to a 68 translates to over $2,000 in difference. This is because the MS68 is the threshold for competitive registry set collectors, and that's something you got to keep in mind. Surviving the Denver minting bins without a single bag mark or zinc blister on the shield allows the coin to command a huge premium. If you want to see some really crazy bag marks and beat up coins, then check out my video coming out on the new Revolutionary War quarters that I bought straight from the mint, that some of them are just jacked up. You will be surprised by that video. Still speaking on Denver, let's talk about that grading trap that I talked about in the beginning of the video. This is a 2023 D Denver Shield cent graded MS67 red by PCGS. It sold for $99 at the end of 2025. This is one of those lessons in modern margins. It's a really recent sale for far less than that previous coin. Denver strikes from 2023 are slightly tougher to find in pristine condition compared to Philadelphia, which is why this MS67 sold for $99 instead of the $63 that we saw earlier. But the math remains the same. After fees, you are barely breaking even. You might make a little flip, so if you're into quick flips, hey, you might pocket $20. But if you're not completely certain your coin is going to grade at the top of the scale, you might want to keep it raw in the setter tube. Do not feed the grading companies just to get a plastic slab. They don't need your extra money to give you a coin that's not going to make you any premium, but if you want to certify the grade and keep the coin preserved, then hey, send it off for grade anyway. Let's jump over to San Francisco, though, to talk about those proof coins. This is a 2023 S San Francisco Lincoln Cent, graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $92.25 in November of 2025. So this is a really recent sale as well, and we're going to show the specialized strike here. A raw 2023 proof is usually worth between $3 and $10. This coin is mathematically flawless and absolutely stunning. It is a PR70, struck specifically for us collectors, with polished dies and a frosted deep cameo finish. It's absolutely beautiful. Yet the absolute maximum ceiling for these is still around $100. Modern proofs are laser engineered to be perfect. Therefore, as you can probably imagine, perfection is incredibly common, but $100 is still a great value. Now, I'm not personally suggesting you start cracking open those proof sets. Never submit a raw modern proof to be graded for profit. In most cases, it's to preserve grade and really keep it nice for your collection, but if you want a PR70 for your collection, I'd suggest just buying one already slabbed on the secondary market. You can pick them up all day long. So how do you successfully navigate that 2023 Lincoln Cent market? First, make sure to do that VDB check. Every single 2023 Philadelphia Cent you encounter needs to go under a magnification. Check the bottom of Lincoln's shoulder for the extra V. It is the most accessible, high-value error of the year. Also look at those shield lines. The reverse union shield is highly susceptible to weak strikes. If the vertical lines at the top of the shield are even slightly mushy, or any marks due to being hit by another coin or from the hopper, it is not going to hit a high MS67, 68, or anything like that. It's probably not worth grading. First, let's start with the market reality. This is a 2024 Philadelphia Lincoln Cent graded MS68 red by PCGS. It sold for $118.13 in the beginning of 2026. This beautiful coin at almost the top of the grading scale is the baseline for a stabilized modern market right now. In raw condition, uncirculated or not, they're worth just that, 1 cent. This is a top-tier MS68 grade from PCGS, the grading company that's currently holding the top seat for collectors. This thing's practically flawless. Look how pretty this coin is. So why did it pull only $118? By January 2026, the population report for 2024 MS68s had grown pretty large. Enough collectors had searched original bankrolls and submitted top specimens that the registry set demand became fully saturated. If you're not familiar with the population report, this refers to the number of coins a grading company has assigned to a specific grade. When the population goes up, the value goes down generally. But what about the first-to-market coins? This is another 2024 Philadelphia Lincoln Cent graded MS68 red from PCGS. It sold for $1,350 in June of 2025. So take a look at this. The same exact coin, the exact same grade, from the exact same mint. You're probably thinking, why the heck did this sell for so much more than the other? Ungraded values for these are still 1 cent, but how did this one sell for $1,200 more than the first one? It's just timing. This coin sold in June of 2025, just months after the coins would be released. At that moment, the MS68 population was likely super low.
Elite collectors will pay extreme high prices to be the very first person to slot a top population coin into their competitive set. It's a badge of honor for collectors willing to pay the price. If you find a perfect modern coin right when it is released, speed is your best friend. Submitting it immediately is how you capture that higher premium. Earlier I mentioned proof-like surfaces though. So let's hop over to the Mile High Mint to talk about PL. This is a 2024D Denver Shield Cent graded MS68 Red PL by NGC. It sold for $183.13 in the end of 2024. This sale is getting a little bit older, but this is a technical designation that you really need to know about. And I love proof-like surfaces. The PL stands for that, proof-like. This means the coin is a standard business strike that was intended for circulation, of course. But it was struck with dies that were so fresh and polished that the background fields are mirror-like, just like a proof coin. Finding a Denver strike clean enough for an MS68 that also has a proof-like surface is gonna be a huge win for any variety collector. Look for the 2024D Lincoln Cents that have that watery or highly reflective background. You can clearly see the reflection of a pen tip on the surface. If you can, you might have a PL candidate and you want to get it graded. I do have a warning though. There is a Denver dead zone. Take a look at this 2024D Denver Lincoln Shield Cent graded MS67 Red by PCGS. It sold for $92.25 in the middle of 2025. So welcome back to the grading trap. This is an MS67. This is of course a beautiful coin, and to the naked eye, it looks perfect I think. But under a loupe, there are microscopic bag marks on the shield or tiny plating blisters. A $92 payout is still really nice, but once you subtract that $40, $50 grading fee, the shipping, the insurance, and a little money for your time, that price really doesn't pay out too much of a premium. In short, do not send modern zinc pennies to PCGS, NGC, Annex, any of the graders, unless you are 100% certain it looks flawless under a scope. Let's look on the flip side though, and talk about perfection. The First Day Proof Premium. This is a 2024S San Francisco Lincoln Shield Cent first day of issue graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. That mouthful sold for $129.38 in February of 2026. This is a super recent auction sale that closes out with the top of the proof market. A raw 2024 proof that was broken out of a set is worth between $3 and $15. This is mathematically flawless and absolutely beautiful. It's a PR70. Because modern proofs are laser engineered by San Francisco to be perfect, perfection is common. The only reason this coin cracked the $100 mark is that first day of issue label and the PCGS slab. This really appeals to a very specific niche of registry builders, but adds some really good eye appeal to the coin, not to mention this coin is just absolutely stunning. Deep cameo coins, of course, mean that it is a frosted portrait of Lincoln, heavily contrasting against that deep, mirror black background. If you want to pull profit out of your 2024 pocket change, you're going to need to know exactly how the grading game works, and I think you saw that in this video. Here's 3 more points to take into mind while you're on the hunt. First, the first strike premium. We broke down the massive volatility gap and why some of the early birds made well over $1,000, while the latecomers barely broke $100. Now, if you watch my other videos, you know this does not apply to every year of Lincoln Cent. But in this case, the early release labels really got a good look as far as value. Also, the PL factor. Denver pumped out some incredibly fresh dies in 2024. We have an NGC MS68 proof-like that we took a look at that completely changes the standard business strike hunt. They're awesome, and you should always be on the lookout for those. Lastly, keep in mind that MS67 dead zone. If you're buying slab coins, you can probably pick up MS67 or a little bit lower for killer prices, so keep that in mind first. Always be on the hunt for a good buy. But if you're on the grading side and you're sending stuff in, unless it looks absolutely flawless, I don't want you wasting your money in the grading fees, and things are not going to work out when it comes back lower than MS66 and kills your opportunity for a premium. If you're getting the coin graded to solidify condition and preserve the coin, I'm always for that. This was the monumental finale, the very last year of standard circulation for the Lincoln cent. While 2026 pennies are still trickling out under different distribution parameters, 2025 marks the end of an era for the pocket change Lincoln cent we all grew up hunting. In this video, we're going to talk about this historical weight. We're going to talk about the 2025 market and how it's completely unhinged. So like I said before, even if you're not into this hobby of turning your pocket change into profit, at least watch this video. Follow my channel for my banknote searches and other ways of getting into silver and gold on the cheap. But let's get to the values of 2025 Lincoln cents. First off, let's start with the Philly baseline. This is a beautiful 2025 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield cent graded MS68 red by NGC. It sold for $94.50 in January of 2026. We're going to start off with this coin because it gives a baseline for the Philadelphia cents from 2025. Now ungraded, these are worth 1 cent. Even with the hype of 2025, MS68s only command between $70 and $150 or so. This is because hoarders save millions of 2025 rolls. I know because I'm one of them, and we knew it was the last standard circulation year, so we did it. The population of high-grade coins exploded immediately, as you probably saw, capping the premium for those high MS grades. Now that RD or red designation, especially for modern zinc pennies, really helps heighten that premium. If the coin even has a hint of brown oxidation, it's gonna lose quality and it tanks the grade. Let's hop over to the Mile High Mint in Denver though to talk about a unicorn coin. This is a 2025 D Denver Lincoln Shield cent graded MS69 red by NGC. It sold for $517.50 in the beginning of 2026. This is what pure perfection looks like on a business strike. I don't care what modern year you're talking about, what you're looking at, this is a beautiful example of a Lincoln cent. Modern MS69s are white whales of the registry world. It means the coins survive the high-speed Denver presses, the ballistic bags, and the shipping process without a single microscopic flaw. Check out my video where I show you coins straight from the canvas bags from the mint that have damage all over them. You can see that it's an arduous process and journey for these coins before they ever hit our hands. That's why rolls are really important. Even with the massive hordes of 2025 rolls though, true MS69s are crazy rare. This is why they always justify a $400 or $500 or more price tag. An MS69 is only 1 point away from a perfect 70, but on a coin meant for circulation, it is considered the absolute highest achievable grade, and this coin shows that. It's absolutely flawless, and that's what you're looking for in your pocket change hunts. Let's stick with Denver, though, and talk about 1 point less in the grading scale. This is a 2025 D Denver Lincoln Shield cent rated MS68 red by NGC. It sold for $130.50 in October of 2025. Of course, all of these coins normally have a face value and a value of 1 cent. Selling a few months earlier than that other coin, this Denver strike pulled a slightly better $130. Like I said before, Denver strikes historically show a slightly better strike quality. But early in the release cycle, eager collectors are always going to pay a bit more to secure those high grades before prices stabilize. That shows with this beautiful 2025 D cent that only has some microscopic bag marks that kept it from a higher grade. Now we're still in Denver though, as it's one of the best to look for this year. This is another 2025 D Denver Lincoln Shield cent, graded MS67 red by CACG. It sold for $183.25 in December of 2025. Now pay close attention to this one. This is the most important lesson in this video and why we stuck with Denver. Now the last coin was an NGC MS68 that sold for $130. This is a lower MS67 and it sold for $50 more. Why is that happening? CACG has built a reputation for really strict grading standards. The market believes a CACG 67 is easily equal to, if not better than, an NGC or PCGS 68. The brand on the plastic literally overwrote the number on the label in this case. The market pays heavy premiums for CACG stuff. Now let's hop over to San Francisco to talk about some proof wars. This is a 2025 S San Francisco Lincoln Shield cent, advanced release, graded Proof 70 Ultra Cameo from NGC, housed in a red frame. It sold for $91.14. We're also going to take a look at this 2025 S San Francisco Shield cent as well, but a first day of issue, graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. It sold for $127.53. Both sold on the exact same day, in November of 2025. Now ungraded, proof coins generally go from $3 to about $15 raw broken out of the set. Both are mathematically perfect PR70s. Both have special release labels, but PCGS still beat NGC by almost $40. Ultra Cameo or UC and Deep Cameo or DCAM mean the exact same thing. Frosted devices on mirrored fields. NGC uses UC, PCGS uses DCAM. When it comes to modern proofs, the PCGS grading service sets demand simply stronger values than NGC's, regardless of how cool the slab looks or what the label is. Let's talk about an auction trap anomaly that happened from San Francisco. This is a 2025 S San Francisco Lincoln Shield cent, graded Proof 69 Deep Cameo from PCGS. It sold for $213.75 in March of 2026. This is a super recent sale and really makes no mathematical sense. We just saw two perfect PR70s sell for around $100. So why in the heck did a flawed PR69 sell for over $200 a few months later? I'm gonna call this auction fever. Two bidders likely got into a bidding war over a specific registry slot that completely failed to check recent comps. Or somebody simply really wanted this coin. Someone paid double the price for a coin that's worse. Really, the note here is to always check recent sold data before bidding. Like on this channel, we base all prices off of certified auction sales from the big auction houses. So never let your ego take over on the auction block. 2025 Lincoln cents are really recent, they're very important in numismatic history, and you can really capitalize on them to make a great value on the last great standard circulation cent.